Welcome to the BOMA podcast, your place to explore the future of real estate management, sustainability, and leadership in our industry. Produced by Latin Press.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending our first BOMA podcast, the BOMA Miami-Dade podcast here in Little Havana, Miami. We will be talking about the realities and challenges of the marketplace for property managers here in South Florida. So we are being accompanied by Erica Toda from East Group Properties, Isabella, Blanco from East Group Properties, Yanei Pérez, BOMA Miami-Dade President, and Jocelynn Serna, BOMA Miami-Dade Director, Executive Director, I think, right?
Correct.
So my name is Max Jaramillo. I am the founder and president of Latin Press. We are a media and events firm here based in Miami with offices in Mexico and Medellin, Colombia. And we have certain events and media properties that are tangential to the property management industry. So we have direct interest in making sure that everyone knows about BOMA and about property management, about the opportunities that property management opens up to other people in the industry. So again, I'd like to thank Jocelynn for making this happen. If it hadn't been for Jocelynn, we would not be here. She came, she saw, she believed in the idea, and we made it happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So initially, what I'd like to do is start with Erica. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, how you arrived. Are you a Miami native? How you are, and how did you become a property manager of over 1 million square feet of industrial facility management?
Okay, perfect. Yes, I'm Erica Toda with East Group Properties. I'm senior property manager for our South Florida market, and I work with Isabella Blanco. We're a 2-woman team down here, small but mighty, as she always says. So we primarily, we only have industrial properties with East Group. They're an industrial REIT with over 63 million square feet in the Sunbelt area. But for South Florida, we have approximately 2.9 million square feet that Isabella and I split. And I didn't always manage industrial. I'd say a Florida native from Central and South Florida, but started in office, Class A office, and then eventually transitioned to retail. And then the more I learned about industrial, the more I wanted to manage it. So moved to industrial at the end of 2019 before the pandemic, and fell in love with it. Quite honestly, it's become my favorite asset to manage. And our office is in Miami Gardens, and
How long have you been with East Group?
Been with East Group for 5 years. Our market covers Palm Beach County, Broward, Miami-Dade, and then I also help manage properties in Lee County on the west coast of Florida.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a property manager?
I did not. I know I actually, probably like a lot of people, I didn't know about it. I'm graduating from the University of Florida. It was before the recession, dating myself, and got in at
Which recession?
the great one, the Great Recession. Right before 2008. And I started as a residential salesperson, got my license, was terrible at it. And then got a job with Marcus & Millichap, the brokerage. And that's how I was introduced into commercial property management. And then as the recession hit and layoffs and all that kind of those things, I had someone refer me for a position as an assistant property manager for a Class A building in downtown Fort Lauderdale. And once I got into it, I loved it. I loved the variety, how busy you stay. I loved real estate already. So yeah, it was a perfect fit. I've stayed ever since.
Thank you. Isabella?
So I'm Isabella Blanco, and I'm originally from Venezuela, where this profession doesn't really exist. And I like to say, like, how I see my job is like we manage small cities, and those small cities are industrial buildings full of companies that keep our, South Florida moving everywhere. Like Erica said, I oversee 1.2 million square feet of our entire portfolio with this group. Best company ever. Must you know that? And just, we make sure our tenants are happy, our buildings are running smoothly, and we find, sustainability initiatives that we can implement. And fun fact, I'm actually an accountant. And that means I like sitting down and doing budgets. For me, it's like putting together my wish list for Santa. So it's great. It's a great fit, like a combination of my career and what I do. So, okay, it's really great.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yanei?
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. My name is Yanei Pérez. My real day job, I work for Baptist Health. We have an in-house full service real estate and development company within Baptist Health. Normally, these types of services are outsourced to a JLL, CBRE, but Baptist has it in-house. So anything that sits outside of the hospital, we manage, develop, acquire from beginning to end. And then in addition to that, I am currently the BOMA Miami-Dade president. It's been interesting. BOMA has awarded me exposure, connections, long-lasting relationships with our vendor partners, and in addition to my peers. So it's a great place to kind of connect both what we do during the day and how we make that kind of see it through for our properties.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Jocelynn?
Good morning. My name is Jocelynn Serna. I am the executive director of BOMA Miami-Dade. I am a Miami native, born and raised, actually very close to this area. I've been the executive director for almost 3 years now. Before that, I was an occupational therapist for many, many years, but I did grow up around BOMA. I actually applied for this position almost 18 years ago. It was my first career choice, but my life led me a different way, and I'm back where I feel I should be and super excited.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much, Jocelynn, for making this happen. So my first, I guess, topic or theme that I'd like to lead with is a day in the life of a property manager. Okay, you need to take care of the tenants. In your case, if I understand correctly, you're in a house. Your client is your healthcare, and it's your cousin, basically. You're within the company.
Correct.
Whereas, if I understand correctly, you guys handle third-party tenants.
No, actually, it's our own properties.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Own managed as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell me then about that relationship with the tenants. What causes you stress on a Sunday night before the work day starts the next day?
So, I'll speak for myself. What keeps me up at night is making sure that the environment that these patients are walking into is clean, it's safe, the AC is working, the pressures are right, humidity is right, because what we do represents the environment where that patient's going to be cared for. So what I tell my people when I interview them is a light out in a commercial office building has a different flavor when you have a light out in an OR. That physician cannot work, that nurse cannot work because they need that light. In a commercial office building, the light could stay off. They may not be so happy, but work can go on. And in my world, it's not. So
is that a reason why you would never subcontract out that responsibility to a third party property management firm?
So yeah. So Baptist originally had a third party company, but nobody takes care of your own like your own. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, we realized that we needed that, not just because of the relationships we have with our third party physicians, but also to ourselves, because Baptist is a tenant within Baptist building. So, it made more sense for us to take care of our own.
Okay.
So in our case, it's completely different. We don't have engineers, we don't have maintenance personnel, we rely on vendors. And the best place to find good, reputable, reliable companies is through BOMA. So it's our community, it's our go-to when we need services. So it's been amazing.
Okay. Erica, any comment on that?
Yeah, no, I think your priorities are always based on your asset class. Obviously, medical is very demanding. Luckily, and one of the reasons I really like industrial, it's it's a little less demanding, it's 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and usually tenants are closed on the weekend. However, coming from retail, usually things are going on in the evening, restaurants are open on the weekend. So, your priorities usually depend on your asset class and what are the pain points. So retail, you're going to have maybe some security calls over the weekend, or vendors need access to the roof and things like that. And then industrial, I think, it runs pretty smooth. So, just making sure you're there for your tenants whenever they contact you, and your vendors are on site doing the things that they.
1 million square feet in property. How many different properties is that?
Ours, we each have about. Well, the total portfolio is 30 buildings approximately, and that is about approximately 100 tenants. So it's half and half, so 15 buildings each.
So 15 buildings.
And they're grouped in some cases, and then we have like standing alone buildings as well. So it's a combination of both. Yeah.
Do you receive calls?
We do.
So
and at 3 a.m.
Yes, that's it. So that's yes. So you're out and about, and you're off hour. So you're always on call.
We are always on call. We sit with the phone on.
In your case as well?
Yeah, for sure.
So what I do is I have an assistant property manager, and we take turns on the weekends on call, because I feel like if I'm on call, it's like the phone goes with me everywhere.
Okay.
And rightfully so, right? Again, because if the AC goes down, the clock starts ticking.
You have emergencies at night.
So, and it never happens. I always joke about it. It never happens at 2:00 on a Thursday. It always happens at 2:00 in the morning on a Thursday, but never at 2:00 when we're all at our desks kind of working. So yeah, we do take turns.
Give me your life horror story at Baptist. What was the worst case? And I'm going to ask the same question.
I love those questions.
So I would say, like, looking back, I've been at Baptist 15 years. August 30th will be 15 years. So next week, which is, I'm not a normal person, because normally property managers, buildings sell, they change companies, you move around for, advancement purposes. So normally people don't stay long within a company, at least not 15 years, not that I've seen in our industry. So I will say, my twins' first birthday. Thankfully, they don't remember, but I do. As a mom, so I had 6:00 in the morning phone call. I had the surgery floor on one of our buildings. A plumber had gone to install a ice machine. Decided to keep the rubber line that came with the ice machine instead of putting a copper line. Lo and behold, that thing burst and popped off in the middle of the night. So that was just everywhere, flowing. So all of my second floor surgery flooded. And of course, water goes down.
Yeah.
So my first floor PT floor was inundated with water.
Which of the Baptist properties?
Kendall.
Okay. The big one, yeah.
Yeah. So I get the phone call at 6:30 in the morning. And I'm like, how bad is it? And he's like, well, I think it's a little bad. And I'm like, can I FaceTime you? Mind you, he's clutching in water. I'm like, so I start making my phone calls. I called my vendors through BOMA. They deployed to start helping with the extraction. They had not noticed the first floor had flooded. And I'm like, have you guys checked the first floor? Yeah, we did. It's fine. I'm like, So, of course, they open the door and they see, oh, yeah, no, the water hadn't reached the door. Just take 3 steps in and you'll see it was swimming in the first floor. We were swimming. So it was a PT floor. So all the lights are kind of indirect lighting. So all of these lights were just full of water and just zapping away.
Like a movie set.
Yeah. So needless to say, the party went on without me. They didn't notice, thank God. But I noticed. So, that to me is a really bad, not just on a professional, because it was a lot. I mean, that surgery center had to close for a week, to kind of get everything back to normal. But on a personal level, it was the fact that, sometimes you have to prioritize what we signed up for. And that's what I signed up for. So
in that case, as much as you're a professional, do you let your emotions get the best of you in that moment, or you're just
You can't.
Okay.
You can't. You just got to do.
And you get on the phone and you start talking to your vendors and
Correct.
I'm
No, but I went on site. At that point, I had to go on site. It was there's certain things that you can handle over the phone and you can kind of manage it over the phone. But then there's other things that just require you to go on site. Yeah.
but the vendors have also signed service agreements with you, and
Correct.
that they're responsible for.
Yeah, of course. And that's what we look for, right? It's not about, you can have 1,000 restoration companies. It's who picks up the phone when you really need them. And this was Sunday after St. Patty's. There were some people still sleeping. So needless to say, it was, not everybody answered the phone, but like I said, the vendors that we partner with, they definitely understand the nature of our business. They understand whether you're doing industrial or you're doing commercial office building or you're doing healthcare. The nature of our business is you got to jump and that's the value of not just BOMA, but that's the value of building those relationships as managers.
Erica, would you like to share one of your horror stories?
Well, I mean, luckily, knock on wood, I haven't had terrible horror stories. I think everything with East Group, I was probably on vacation, and Isabella got those calls, and unfortunately, she covered one for us where a battery pack and a tenant space, I think it was for a drill or a vacuum, it caught on fire, so it caught the utility closet on fire, and so that, unfortunately, I was far away either in Spain or Japan or something. Japan, very hard to get a hold of, so Isabella got that call.
And I started emailing her, hey, you're going to hear and you're going to receive a bunch of calls and messages. Don't answer. I'm fine. We're firing through this. Nothing's burning anymore.
Yeah.
And
well, thankfully, it was contained. The sprinkler came on, so then she was amazing and called the restoration company, showed up, and did everything. So super appreciative. But the most stories I have are probably retail, because usually the restaurants that are open on the weekend where things happen. Just sewer lines backing up, and then sewage water getting into like the first floor of a small office building that I manage. So calling restoration companies for that and trying not to let the tenants freak out that it's really gross water that's in the building. And grease traps backing up. Lots of those calls with retail centers on the weekend. So
part of your job is therapy, working with clients and
exactly. Yeah.
I think we're a combination of firefighters, therapists, detectives, accountants. Like, we do everything in one role.
Yes.
My favorite story is, that one would be top 2. But it was 3 a.m. We get a phone call, active water flow in the building. Guess who was our tenant? Miami-Dade police.
Oh my gosh.
So it was their entire building. They had one building for themselves, and it was water up to the knee. This building was built in the 80s, so we weren't sure about asbestos. So we had to shut them down. How do you tell the police you can't come to work? Like, they operate 24/7. Like, we have to shut you down. And it was pre-pandemic.
Would the Miami-Dade police have a point person that works with you?
Yeah.
And that point person is your client?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. They represent.
Okay. And so you told this point person, this is the situation, you got to shut the building down.
Yeah.
And then they internally go and tell all their police officers and
not to show up and just, help us move the furniture, because they had like piles and piles of cabinets.
It's to be assumed that as the tenant is not as professional as you are. You deal with these fires all the time, but that building liaison person, that for them it's
oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. And you're like, it's all good. I've seen this.
We've been through this before. We're going to help you navigate through this. We'll put you back up and running as quickly as we can. Don't worry. I mean, the most important thing, like lives of people, and we want to make sure everyone's safe. We don't want people breathing mold in the future, but we want to take care of you, and we're going to do everything we can to navigate this together. And I think you just go to an automatic mode. Like, I remember that a fire that we had in one of our buildings when Erica was happy in Japan. And I remember, sending a restoration company. I went to the property. These people have like very nice, expensive furniture, and I wanted to see how bad it was. It was luckily contained into the warehouse, and the water was going outside through the roll-up doors. So it wasn't really flooding inside. So I remember just getting back home at 8 a.m, and I just saw my husband. And at that moment, I had recently returned from maternity leave, and he was holding our baby, and I just started crying just because of that moment of relaxation after all this stress. No one was yelling at me. The tenant was still sleeping. Like, I was calling them and they were not answering the phone, but I was handling things for them. So it's like you feel the responsibility on your shoulders, but after everything's, in order and going through the process, you kind of feel like, okay, we're good. Yes. It's stressful, but yeah. Don't go to Japan.
I'm assuming that since you guys are now pros, but when you first entered the industry, you had a mentor that helped you deal with these moments of stress, or how was that arrival to the industry?
So I'll tell you for myself, I started in accounting. I'm dating myself. I used to type commission checks for a real estate company. So I was the bookkeeper. Type commission checks. Commission checks.
I used to send fax.
I converted them to DOS, into the internet world. So that particular broker is like, have you ever thought of property management? So at the time, they had a relocation department where they would manage properties for executives that would get relocated out for their jobs. So they would leave their property here, and we would rent it. We would pay the bills, take care of everything. So for me, I kind of learned the residential component during the time where things kind of, I guess, the previous recession, prior to your recession, I was evicting families. I didn't have a family of my own, but that kind of like that stuff, it was tough that you're seeing children and, I'm the bad person, right?
You're in Miami-Dade.
Yes. So, and, you have these owners that are like living in Latin American countries where they're used to calling la delegación, where you can call the police and say, get them out of my house. Here, there's laws. We have to go through a process. And when we get to that process, then, you're seeing families and all that. So I wanted to get out of residential because of that. And I started in commercial. I did commercial office buildings. I did a little bit of retail. And then one day, I applied to Baptist, and then I fell in love with healthcare because there are no 2 days the same. You set your day out to do A, B, and C, but then now you have 8.1 and you have B.25 and, and your day is not the same. So for me, it's that, like, it just keeps, it's every day is something different, and I'm a glutton for the excitement too.
And I don't know about you, but no matter how long you've been doing this, there's always a learning moment.
Every day.
And every day is different, yeah.
And even for ourselves, I think when we've done our TOBY judging, where, we do the TOBY Awards, we learn from each other. As we judge each other's properties, I see her side, like her properties from her set of eyes. I've never done industrial. I mean, I have 2 warehouses, but that's not real industrial in my book because it's us, ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not like you guys. And then vice versa. When she came to us, she was like, oh my gosh, the amount of inspections, the amount of things that you guys have to do, and then still have a smile.
And how delicate it is. Like, it's healthcare. It's people having surgeries. It's people going through emergencies. No one wants to go through that, but just seeing how it works behind, like on the other side of the token, where you are operating this building, some people are coming to you with their worst moment in their lives, probably worse. It's just a different kind of monster.
Definitely.
So part of what I'm understanding as well is you mentioned, I think, all 3 of you, the restoration firms, correct? Mm-hmm. So the importance of the contractor, selecting the right contractor. All right. So as I mentioned before, I come from that world, and all my clients want to know, how do they get in front of you to make the best presentation of their service or their product? So, and that leads me to other questions like what is your level of expertise in, again, air conditioning? Or do you really depend on the right vendor that knows his or her stuff? Erica.
Yeah, we depend heavily on vendors. I mean, after so many years of experience, you do tend, you learn building systems, you learn systems and processes, but in a general sense, not into the specific details, or diagnosing an issue. So that's where organizations like BOMA are so important, because you meet so many different types of vendors, you create relationships, and you create a sense of trust where you can also call them out if they're not giving you the service that you need or getting you the response that you need. But yeah, we like she said, we don't have maintenance personnel for our property, so we only use third-party vendors for all our services. So yeah, we heavily rely on specific vendors that are constantly there. They show up, they respond. They don't need babysitting all the time. It's hugely valuable.
Is that something you review on a yearly basis? Is that something, how often do you review those vendor contracts? Is that something?
It's every 3 years. We're looking again, and the bidding process. Every year it's very tedious. We already have so much on our plate, so redoing every single contract every year isn't reasonable for us. So
how price sensitive is that?
For us, it's more quality. Obviously, because of what we do. Cheapest is not always the best, right? So for us, we do also go out to bid every 3 years, only because.
And that's throughout, like, your security guys, your cleaning guys, your.
So security is in-house, cleaning, fire alarm. What we typically do is when we build a new building, we normally keep that first year. We keep whoever installed the equipment. We keep them for warranty purposes. So we don't want finger pointing. So even though we have a system-wide elevator vendor, if someone else installed it, we engage them for the first year or the warranty period, whatever it is, 1, 3, 5, whatever it is, depending on the equipment. We engage that vendor for that purpose, because that way you avoid anybody voiding warranties and stuff like that.
Do you guys have a day of the week set aside to receive the vendors?
No. I'll share one story.
And I'm asking this because, again, this is what I hear a lot from my people. And I don't want them just to bombard you, So I just want to understand the flow better So
it's all about relationships at the end of the day. It's, yes, you build that relationship, you build that trust, and then you depend on that vendor.
Yep.
I'll share, there's a particular vendor that would come by and offer mints. And when he first would come by and offer his mints, I was like, oh, here he is again, So sometimes he would try to talk to me. If I was available, I would talk to him. If I wasn't available, I wasn't available.
May I ask, a vendor for what?
Restoration vendor.
Okay.
So lo and behold, this was like maybe a year into working. They were using a previous company. This was a vendor I had met through BOMA. I was on vacation. My assistant property manager is like freaking out because she's like, oh my gosh, it's like my first time dealing with something like this. So we kind of talked her through, I talked her through the process, whatever. She reached out to the vendor that we normally were accustomed to. Well, that vendor didn't respond at 2:00 in the morning. So I said, you know what?
Mr. Mintman.
Call the Mintman. Call the Mintman. The Mintman answered. And from that point forward, he is our person, because lo and behold, no matter what, and now they're a national company. They used to be a mom and pop. Now they're a national company, and now they're a little bit more structured. They have a 1-800 number, but even if we do have the 1-800 number, I can always depend on calling him and he'll pick up the phone.
Okay.
And that to me is more valuable than anything in the world, because I'm not calling you to ask you what you had for breakfast. I'm calling you at 3 in the morning, right? I'm calling you because I have an emergency and I need your help. And so that's
okay.
I think that is building that connection, and not just slipping into people's DMs and saying, hey, I met you at lunch. It's about making sure you make an impactful connection with that person, with that property manager. And then if you ever need, that person will think of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it works both ways around. Like, if my vendors call me and I'm on vacation, I answer the phone. Like that, I'm kind of a workaholic. I'm going to be honest about it. But that's the level of service I expect from them too. Because if I answer the phone and you're asking me, where's my payment? Like, I haven't received this check. It was, lost in the mail, whatever. And I'm helping you, then I expect the same from you. And like she said, if I'm calling you at 3 a.m, there's definitely something bad going on. I'm not just going to call you, hey, what's up? What are you guys doing? Like, no, it's just the type of trust and reliability you want from your hero. Because at the end of the day, we need an advisor for each situation. So yeah, it's part of that.
And does Mr. Mintman know about this story?
Yes, he does.
Okay. And he knows it's referred to as Mr.
The Mintman? Probably that many. Maybe, but there's a lot of us. There are a lot of us that know the Mintman.
Okay.
And I just want to add, as property managers, we never are putting all our eggs in one basket.
Okay.
We have several buildings, but we're splitting up work at buildings with different vendors that do the same thing, because we've all probably been in situations where who we thought we could rely on dropped the ball, wasn't answering the phone, things like that.
So you sacrifice efficiency for resiliency.
I wouldn't necessarily always say it's efficient to have one vendor doing everything.
Especially
sometimes you don't get the same response that you want when they're spread amongst all your properties, and then what other accounts they may also have. Is I think making that impression, like she said, where we have your contact information, but you're not too pushy about it. Here's my contact information. This is what we do. If you ever have an emergency, give me a call. I'll answer. And then we have we just had that situation with a termite issue that she had at her building where the person we have the warranty with, we're chasing them. She's trying to get a response. I run into the same issues in my building. And so we're trying to think, okay, who else have we met that does termite that's mentioned,
Okay. What about, so with vendors, service vendors, you have duplicity because you don't want to be locked into one solution. What about technology? Would you, for example, are all the air conditioning units one certain brand, all the security cameras one certain brand?
So because of security in my world, yes, we partner with one security and access control vendor because they live in our network. And in our network lives patient information. So we're very, very private and very secure rightfully so, because of that. When it comes to controls, we do have maybe one or two vendors that we use.
Vendors, the manufacturer I'm talking about.
Yeah,
the brand.
Energy management control.
Okay, yep.
And them too, they live in our network. So we want to make sure that person's vetted out. We don't just willy-nilly let everybody in. So it has to go through IT security because they now have access to turn stuff on and off
the network, yeah,
remotely. So we want to make sure that whoever we're in contract with is someone that we've vetted out. As far as choosing a particular brand versus the other, versus Dream,
your Dream or
Train or whatever, we choose depending on the end user and what the facility is for.
Mm-hmm.
We use a particular vendor,
but there's no lock-in.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, we just want to make sure it has a SEER rating 14 or better. I mean, Energy Star, if that's still going to matter. And, the warranty is on it. The warranty for the work.
Also availability at this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point. That's a very good point, yeah. Okay. Because again, sometimes my vendors or my clients ask, how do I get in front of, how do they make decisions? So basically it's on them to make sure that they're talking to you and always handing out mints.
Yeah.
Well, that's where BOMA comes in place too, and other associations, of course, because we're not only a networking platform, we also give our associate vendors a chance to educate our managers. We have educational sessions. When they sponsor an event, they get to present their company. And when you see that person's face multiple times, they're putting the effort and they're going to be there.
Yep.
So that's why it's important to put your time and sometimes money into associations because it proves that you are there.
I totally agree.
Maybe I have an issue where we're trying to find a vendor for a particular work. And then I speak to Yanei and she's like, oh, I had this experience with this company and it went great. Here's their contact information. Like, we all connect somehow.
We share.
And we share, obviously, who we think is great for X service. So it's really important. Relationships are really
So it's
important.
still a relationship industry.
Yeah.
Property management.
I would say so.
Okay. So with that, let's talk about BOMA. Tell us about BOMA and the Miami-Dade, because we're only in Miami here.
Right, we're only in Miami. We have BOMA is it's an umbrella, BOMA International, and we have about 82 local sectors, BOMA Miami-Dade being one of them. We are a networking platform, but we encourage genuine connections. We have plenty of educational resources, which is why managers also like to become part of BOMA. RPA certifications, BOMA Best certifications. So BOMA International sets guidelines to for these commercial buildings to adhere to make them one of the best. So that's basically what BOMA is about, just connecting BOMA managers with vendors that service their buildings and get these buildings to where they should be.
Okay.
And from a property management point, it's the group of people that get excited to talk about HVACs, to talk about roof warranties, and they share our passion and our brain damage as well. So
We definitely make lifelong connections.
exactly. They understand, I mean, we understand each other, and not a lot of people do. So
Yeah, I know. Property management is still, facility management is kind of, you talk to people and they look at you and you have to explain that, building has a whole, says this set of requirements, and that somebody has to take ownership of that, responsibility of that.
it's like when you go to a restaurant with friends and then you're looking at the ceiling tile and it's stained and looks gross, and you're like talking to your friends about it and they're like, what are you talking about? Who cares about the ceiling tile? That's order cocktails. And you're like,
We're talking about MIA.
to me, it only matters. Yeah,
We're talking MIA airport.
not gonna lie. Seen those.
And so a part of that is not just the networking, but it's the career development.
Absolutely.
And it's a way I again, from outside, I'm not a member, but I see that's an opportunity as a property manager to have other opportunities to
Absolutely.
grow.
It offers education, not just for the managers, it also educates our engineers. So one of the things that BOMA Florida, because we have a BOMA Florida chapter, which encompasses all of the Florida local chapters. One of the things that our current, I guess her title, Lucy, she's the chair for BOMA International. She's the third woman that's held that position. So we're very proud of her. And she's actually a local Florida person. She started as property manager and then kind of worked up. So, and one of the things that she advocated for was to push for FAFSA dollars to be utilized to educate engineers. So not everybody is going to go to Harvard. Not everybody's going to get a degree, and that's okay. We still need engineers. We still need plumbers. We still need electricians. And those are trades that kind of like get put to the wayside. They're not as prestigious as I went to, Harvard and got a degree. But they're so needed in our industry. And what she was saying was there's not enough people jumping on into those careers. So one of the things that she pushed for was to make that change, where now you can apply for FAFSA dollars and become an HVAC technician certified, or to become an electrician or become a plumber, and go to those trade schools and come and work at one of our buildings. You have engineers. We talk about property managers, but there's engineers that make six figures, and our kids are not seeing that. They're not seeing the value and the significant and the impact that they're going to make in our industry, for ourselves, for the managers, because we work alongside our engineers, but also for that asset owner or that building or that whatever you're serving, whatever it is that you're serving. In my case, it's healthcare, but I know she doesn't have engineers, but in her case, it's businesses that are directly inputting into our community.
Yep, totally.
And to build on that, our Florida chapter actually just won a very, very big accomplishment in the sales tax for leasing agreements. So a lot of people don't know that BOMA also has a government and advocacy chapter to it, sector to it, and they fight on the legislative level,
State level
for us, right?
for us.
So it's
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yes. But yeah, so it was tax on commercial real estate leases. We were the only state in the United States that had that. It started off with like, I think 7%, then we brought it down to 5%, then we brought it down to 2%. And this past year we eliminated it altogether.
Okay.
So that was huge because you're paying money on top of, but like everything, when you take off a tax, that money needs to be kind of repurposed
for sure.
in another way.
Yep.
So it took us time, but we got it to happen.
And so finally, I think the last two is the BOMA Best certification and then the TOBY International Prize. So tell us about what the BOMA Best certification is and the TOBY International Prize.
So BOMA Best is really related to sustainability efforts. And it's a globally recognized platform that really makes you, as a manager, sit down and analyze and go through all of your sustainability policies and procedures. So it is something we're extremely proud of. We were the first awarded certification in the US, which is a really big deal in our world. And it just proved what we knew. Like, we run a world-class operation that cares about the environment and cares about our tenants and health and, all these green initiatives. Because at the end of the day, we know how impactful on a negative way our buildings are. So we try to do our best to make sure we kind of reverse that a little bit and make sure that our tenant practices are also aligned with that goal. So for us, it's just an extremely proud achievement. Mm-hmm. And no one will take that away from us ever, because we're first.
And it's a tedious task, right?
Yes.
Not just, compiling some papers and turning it in. It's a lot of documentation, a lot of supporting documentation from sustainability, from, your day-to-day to
everything,
down to your tenants. And in an industrial world, you don't control your tenants. You control the common area, if you will.
Yeah.
So each tenant is responsible for their own. So to get the buy-in from the tenants to share, right? Share electricity bills, share water bills, to share that information, it speaks of their investment, their buy-in, and then of their management.
So you did that with your 30 different accounts, or is that for all?
Only one property that has 5 buildings.
Okay.
And it took us 6 months to complete the entire entry. So it's a lot of digging documents. It's a lot of conversations with your tenants to try to get that information and put everything together.
Why would I, as a tenant, want to do that? What do I get out of it? I understand what you would get out of it. Why would the tenant? To help you to create a closer relationship?
I think it benefits them as well, in a sense that if they care about the same goals, they're happy to know that their buildings is operating at its best. It also translates into savings once they discover, that their AC unit is top of the line, and that translates into less energy consumption. So that translates into savings for them. So it's kind of a chain of events that they also benefit from.
Okay.
And it's becoming more industry standard that even our tenants care about sustainability, just like property owners. So our tenants were really willing to work hand in hand with us for utility tracking, water tracking. We have shared water meters at the building. So if we're staying on top of that and making sure everything's efficient, they're saving CAM dollars by us making sure water is being conserved. Their electric they're each individually metered, but it also makes them aware about, hey, okay, let's make sure the thermostat is programmed to turn off at a certain time, and there are energy savings. We can tell them, hey, look, you had a spike here or there. You might want to look into it.
And when you engage with them in these conversations, they are also happy to share what they're doing on their own. For example, we have a tenant that has like a great composting program, and they also want to speak to our landscaping crew to try to get all that debris into their system, and that will help them also impact the community. So I think in this world we're living, and the tenants that we're happy to have, it's like a common concern. Mm-hmm. So we're all putting what we can to help.
Okay.
And just to tie it back to vendors, that also becomes important in how we're selecting our vendors, because we need especially when we're doing these certifications, we need vendors that are aware of their green sustainable practices that translate into what we're doing at the property and how we're reporting things as well. So like our landscapers have tons of information on the pest services that they use for their landscaping material, the type of trimmers they're using, the mulch, all this kind of stuff. So
We try to put material that doesn't require a lot of pest control, that we don't need to put chemicals on, that translates into less gasoline because less trips to the property. So yeah, everything's connected.
I want to thank the panelists.
Thank you.
I want to thank especially Jocelynn from BOMA Miami-Dade. And we are here because of you. So again, thank you. Right? It was fun. I hope this is not the last time we do this.
Yes.
And that will close it out. So again, thank you all for coming out. And there's still some more coffee, I think. And until next time.
BOMA Podcast, your place to explore the future of real estate management, sustainability, and leadership in our industry. Produced by Latin Press.